Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, it is my honor and a privilege to have our guests come once they present, that they offer their time, their knowledge, their experience to us so that you and I can learn to become better human spirits while we're here on this planet. And it is my honor to welcome Mehdi here. I can't wait to hear your journey because I've been listening to a couple of them, but I personally wanted to engage with you and learn more about you and even deeper. So welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, sir.
Thank you very much, Ken. I really, really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here and looking forward to discuss and learn from each other.
Definitely. I want you to tell them all the things that you have today. I know you have your books. I know you are also a coach. I want you to tell the people about the things that you have created as a result of your journey.
Ken, currently I have an active charitable organization in Afghanistan where we actually build schools and accommodate these orphans go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 431 orphans and underprivileged children registered. And, I was there for the past 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Afghanistan. Just escaped the country before the Taliban took over recently.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had to leave children behind and the program behind. And our office was ransacked and my staff was arrested and some of them been tortured.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately had to go through that tragic event. And now I came back to Canada and I'm trying to promote my book and trying to promote my speaking engagement,
mm-hmm.
that I will raise more funds that one day, hopefully, that the situation will get better, that I'll go back to these children who
mm-hmm.
need for us desperately. I currently, when the pandemic started, I had plenty of time, and that's when I wanted to do something with my time, and that's when I came up with the book, The 5 Laws of Inner Change.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I want to make clear for people, and some people says, who are you to create laws? What do you mean 5 laws of inner change? And just before we get in the book, I'll let them know it's not a law that I created. It is a law. When you actually read the book, you will know this is the law. It's not my law. It is just like the law of gravity. It's there.
Yeah.
So I either you can say that I discovered it or somebody else discovered it or I rewrote it, whatever. It's been there. It's not my law that I just came up with. We might create laws for the natural law. And this book is all about discovering yourself. Ken, we have books, tons of books, information out there, and people go to workshops and they want to do something in their life, but unfortunately, they don't have any lasting change.
Yeah.
They buy this book, they go to the workshop, they come home and they try it, and after a week or so, they're back to usual.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me ask myself the question: why is that? Why people can't take advantage of all these great books and information out there? And then one of the things that I realized that a lot of when we were young, we were told that information is an asset.
Yes.
And information is a gold. But I realized that actually this is the opposite. Information does not just have any value. It is actually it takes us to deficits. It is a liability when we don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So it becomes a liability because now we have information. If you ask anybody about enlightenment, they say, "I know." Because in their mind they do know. They and in terms of philosophy, they do know, but practically they have no idea. But that stops them. Just that knowing stops them from taking action. So it becomes a liability.
Yeah. It is. So it is a life. When we embark on that journey, it is a life of action. It's just period. I don't know how else to put it.
So Ken, this book was all about, okay, how can I find these laws? Because there must be a law. Everything in life, everything that moves is governed by law. Everything has law. How come life doesn't have a law?
Yeah.
And I drove in Afghanistan and my car would break down because we had accident bumped. We had minor accidents almost all the time because people were not following the laws. And then I kind of said, okay, this is how life is all about. We're in a mess in life because we're breaking the law. I have constant accident, and we get up again and we go on doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So everything has to have a law.
I agree.
And this is what this book is all about.
That is awesome. We're going to get into that. But I want to take you back to, as we were talking about earlier, and my guests and my audience knows this too. We go back into your history, as they say, the formidable age that you and I are being now formed once we come home from the hospital or wherever we were born, and we are placed into our family. Talk a little about your family life, how it was there, and how did you begin to be receiving, as I say, their programming as to how you ought to live, how you ought to behave, how you ought to be thinking since you're here within this family unit?
Sometimes people ask me, you don't have a formal education, so who are you to write a book? What do you know about books? I said, well, I think I have, in terms of education, I think I have a lot more than a lot of people who have a lot of degrees.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. If you're a student of life, that's the best university ever.
Yes, I agree.
So, and I didn't write the book from reading other books. I did from experience, and that's what you want to get into. And I'm sure the audience wants to know as well. Ken, I was born in Afghanistan in 1973 in one of the most isolated part of the country. So a village that's surrounded by mountains. And as far as I can remember, I was paralyzed from waist down. I was told that that's my fate. So I was handicapped. So I kind of accepted my fate. This is how it is. There's nothing I could do about it. And when I ask people why, because I had, as a child, you always have questions. Why can't I walk? Since I have legs and they grow bowing, why can't I walk? The easier answer was, as well as God's doing, so there's nothing to do about it.
Wow.
And I accepted that because people were really religious, and so and I would sit outside till somebody moved me. And the hardest thing for me, Ken, was when I watch other kids play around and they run around. And the hardest thing for me was, why can't I? What's wrong with me? Why? And everybody said that it's easy for God to just give you your mobility back. And I was always wondering as a child, why would God cannot be that cruel? Why doesn't he give me back my mobility? And all this childish question that I had. And I couldn't ask my parents because I did ask before, and I was punished for questioning because it was ungodly. You can't ask such questions. But everything changed, Ken, when I was 5 years old. I accidentally cut my index finger with a knife, and I was mesmerized by observing it on a regular basis, how it actually healed itself. And I realized what happened here. Before, when I had some minor cuts or bruises, my mom, we didn't have any money to buy anything else, so we had Vaseline. So my mom would apply some Vaseline on it, and I thought it was the Vaseline that healed everything. But this time, nobody put anything on it. I didn't, and that's when the deep questioning for me as a child started. Who is it? What fixed it? And I obviously asked my mom, and she said it is God. And that was a way for me to kind of not question anymore. But inside me, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. Then I realized that if this thing can fix my hand, why can't it fix my legs? So it is obviously alive. Now the question changed. Before I said, why am like this? Why God did this to me? Why can I? Now the question has changed for me. Said, how can I communicate with this thing? What can I do to make this thing realize that, come on, I need your help, buddy. And that's what I started doing. I started talking to it. I said, okay, whatever you are, I don't know who you are. Please give me my legs back. I know you can hear me. I've been talking. So after weeks and weeks, nothing happened. And I know now the question is that, what am I doing wrong? Why can't it hear me? And I started massaging it, and that didn't work. I tried to move it with my hands. That didn't work. So months have passed of me trying to communicate with this thing. Nothing is happening. And so then I thought, maybe this thing doesn't understand me. I have to show it what it wants me to do. What I wanted to do. I have to show it. So how can I show it? Well, if somebody just hold me up, that I will try to walk, and this thing will understand. And then I start begging my brother, my parents, please hold me up. Why? And the question is why? And I would say, I want to learn how to walk. And they would at the beginning they would laugh at me, they would make fun, but the more I asked them, and they would get mad at me. Shut up! You can't walk. Why don't you just sit and accept it? But I couldn't. So and when no help came, then I looked for other stuff that I could hold on to and lift myself up, and the doorknob was my first victim. So I went and tried to hold the doorknob and lift myself up, and I couldn't. And I kept trying until the doorknob broke, and another doorknob broke, and I got punished every time. I obviously got punished, but unfortunately back there, that physical punishment, was very common. When a child did something wrong, you just go slap him or spank him. That was normal. And I got a lot of it. So. And when everything broke in the house, and my parents were really, really tired of me. Says, what the hell is wrong with this kid? Why doesn't he listen to us? Just but for me, I said, I said, what's wrong with them? Why didn't they listen to me? Why don't they believe me? And that's what happens when a lot of us, when we believe in something, we're so excited, and nobody else believes in you. You become alone. Now you're alone. I was alone. So
I agree.
I had to do everything myself. That's how I felt. So and then I told my brother, well, if I cannot touch anything in the house, you have to build me something outside. And we came up with an idea to build me 2 bars that I could hold with 2 hands and lift myself up. And my brother helped me build that one, and I was sitting outside every time he built it. I was so excited. Now this is it. This is my savior. This thing is going to change everything, and I'm going to hold on, and I'm just going to walk on it or try to walk on it. And I would dream about it. And the 7 days that they took him, and I couldn't wait to use it. So when it was done, the minute he put me in between those bars, and I tried to lift myself, and I couldn't. And I tried again, I couldn't. I changed my position, I couldn't. And I asked someone to help me do that, and nobody was there. And I was all the dream that I had was gone again. I said, now what? Now what? Okay, so but I that's all I had. I didn't have anything else to do. But I would still ask my mother to put me right between the bars, and that was all I had. I would try and try. I had bruises, I had blisters, but I had no other choice. What could I do? Just thinking that I would have a life with no legs, no mobility was agonizing. I was not accept. No way. I have to do that. So after a few weeks that I did that, and then I couldn't lift myself up. I asked my brother to go me 2 steps that I could pull myself up and sit on it, pull myself that I could use my arms. He did that, and that didn't work. So long story short, 2 years. For the next 2 years, I didn't give up. I fell a million times, but I tried and tried. I was better getting up at the end, I would fall again. I would get up and fall again. When I was 7 years old, this time when I fell, I felt pain for the first time in my knee.
Wow.
And that's when the whole thing changed.
Wow. I love your story when you were talking about, it's really a simple adjustment, but it's a hard adjustment that people need to make within themselves in order to begin to produce their desired outcome. It is a change in your perception of your situation. It is you flipped it, you looked at it, and you said, "Okay, why is that?" And the perception always changes with the questionings that you have to. We started producing and coming up with, and the answers. It turned you from this person that could have just continued to sit there to someone that became creative. I always tell people, when you switch your perception, you switch on this creative part of you, a newness, because you've been in this darkness for the longest while and it's not working. And you're just trying to come out. And so you switched on. And then what happens is that your creative mind starts to activate. You start coming up with ideas, and you did not let it deter you. And that's why I always say to people, when you start your journey, do not give up when it gets hard, because every time you fell, you made adjustment. You kept your perception focused, and okay, that's built. Okay, I'm not doing it. Get me some stairs. Again, you become creative. You're looking for answers. You're looking, searching. Exactly. And how many people, really, how many of them refuse to make that simple adjustment? It's amazing.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly, Ken, and that's one of the problems when you don't understand how the mind works. You're at the mercy of your environment.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mind always answers. It has the answers. But the question is important. You have to ask it the questions, a quality question.
Yes,
that changes your perception on everything.
Yes.
But that's not what we have learned, unfortunately. We have learned to always look for the answers.
Yeah.
Okay. And by asking a very, very unhelpful questions. So why am I like this?
Yeah.
So that victimizes you. Just like you said, your creative part of the brain shuts down. Because you're done.
Yeah.
So you already accepted that you're a victim. But the question opens it. If you say how instead of say why, how, then the whole thing changes. Your perception. Your mind will answer that.
Yeah,
I think we're going. I always did.
We're going. The questions and the answers and stuff like that really are internal. It's an internal conversation. As you began to have that internal conversation, as you were talking about. So here you are now at 7, and you began to feel the sensitivity within the leg after the fall. Talk to me, man, because before that, you weren't feeling anything. How did that make you feel when you fell and there was pain when you hit the ground? Talk to us about that moment and in your life, because this is the beginning of major changes, to feel pain after all those years.
Oh, wow. I can't even describe. The actual feeling started the next day. That pain, I didn't think much of it. So it was something weird, but I didn't think much of it. I still couldn't move my legs much. So, but the next morning when I woke up, I felt my toe as if I could move my toe. And that's what I said, oh my God, something is happening. I still was not sure what it was, but something was happening. And I yelled and with excitement and told everybody I can move my toe, and everybody gathered. Oh my God, yeah, he can do that. He has done it. So it was like I already started the minute I felt my toe moving. I went and the inner wall that I had, that I was running around climbing mountains and playing with other kids, and I already was playing. I already was running around, and because that's all I wanted. All I wanted was the ability to walk. That's all what I wanted, and I got that, and that was something out of this world. And for the next few months, it took me, I don't know how many months, it took me months to be able to stand on my feet. But at that time, everybody was willing to help. That's what happens when you believe in something, Ken. When you believe in something, first of all, especially if it's something out of ordinary and a little too big for other people to understand, they say, "Shut up, just sit down." What do you mean? And they try to pull you down. It's starting from your family. But if you learn, if you persist, if you continuously try, and you will continuously thrive. And when you succeed, only then they will come and say, "Yeah, I knew you could make it. I knew that." And that's what happened to me. We believed you. So I said, "Yeah, that's okay. That's good. Now I can walk."
That's funny, because I tell people is what's lacking with them when someone is stagnant is because they haven't made up their mind yet. And the principle is this: once you have made up your mind on something, you will do the necessary corresponding actions to bring that vision that you have in your mind, that you have decided that this is going to be my driving force beyond, like you said, beyond whatever your family says, friends, neighborhood, didn't matter. They didn't care about nothing. You made a decision within yourself, and that decision compelled you to get up, compelled you to come up with other ways, compelled you maybe to become more creative, compelled you to get up when it was hard, when you didn't want to move. And I keep telling people, you need to find that piece of information, because that piece of information is critical, because it will guide you out of your situation. I'm not saying to them that this is for the rest of your life. I'm saying this is for whatever period it needs to be. And then when you get to that end of that one, then get another one, get something else that will keep you moving, because the human spirit has to keep moving once it's awake. Like you were awake, now you need more to, because we're such an infinite being, that we need more to be able to push us through. So here you are, man, because that I could even picture your reaction when all that pain comes and when all the work. But people don't understand. I mean, you talk to them about the dedication, the commitment that it takes to move from one space to another once you've made your decision, because a lot of people quit when the time comes a little difficult. But that's the best place to be, because you know that as it's getting difficult, it means that you're growing. You've expanded yourself a little more, and so you're at I want to say, at a junction that you need to push even further. Talk to them about this, because a lot of people give up right here, man.
Exactly. That's a great question, Ken. The one of the biggest problem we have is that not understanding ourselves is one of the biggest problem. As a human being, we're goal oriented.
Yeah.
We have to have goals, and the way the mind works, it'll always achieve your goal. It'll do everything in its power to achieve your goal.
Yes.
But what if your goal is wrong? What if your goal is 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road? That's one of the biggest problem. We have learned this the wrong way. We have learned that they ask us, what is your goal? If you say my goal is that I'm what I'm doing right now, just want to do it right. They say no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, what is your goal in the future? And then we say, okay, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, whatever it is. I want to be a businessman. But that cannot be a goal. And then the mind will focus on trying to make you a businessman, which is 2 years, 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
So now you wake up in the morning, you haven't achieved the goal. You wake up the next morning, you try to go to school, do whatever, you haven't achieved the goal. So the mind starts slowing down. The mind starts discouraging you because the goal is too far away. But that's not how the mind works.
Yeah.
The mind has to achieve the goal on a regular basis in order for you to get the dopamine you need, the energy that you need. Okay, so when the reason we give up, because the goal is so far away and we don't get the dopamine we need to get up and do it again.
Yeah.
And when we don't get the dopamine, we don't get the energy because the goal is too far, and then we resort to other stuff like drugs
and all the other things,
to get the dopamine we need. And we buy stuff that we don't need because we need the dopamine.
Yeah.
That's the problem with people. So you have to understand the difference between a goal and a vision.
Yes.
You want to be a doctor is nothing but a dream.
Yeah.
Everybody has it. You want to have money, it's nothing but a dream. It cannot be a goal. So you have to notice the difference between these two, and that's what this book is all about. Your goal. I read a lot about goal setting, and one of the things that I really like is about SMART. SMART. Your goal has to be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, and time bound, and all that. So I said, okay, that's great. And a lot of people, the teacher says, okay, what is your goal? It says you have to be specific. You want to achieve this 2025 and what time you're going to achieve your goal. And that's what we have learned. So, I said, no, this is not what the goal is all about. It says achievable. Achievable. A is for achievable. Achievable means right now. Achieve it right now. So for me, when I wanted to, though as a child, I did everything unconsciously. I had no idea how these things work. But unconsciously, my only goal was how to raise myself up. That was my only goal. I didn't think about, okay, when I'm gonna walk. No, at that time I was 100% focused on what I wanted to do at that time. Period. That was my goal. So when the problem at that time I didn't know, but let's say when I tried to lift myself up, when I didn't achieve that goal, I was really disappointed. I was heartbroken. But because the goal was my vision. My vision to be able to stay. That's a vision. That's not a goal. My goal should have been that I just want to do my best trying to stand up. Not standing up. Doing my best to stand up, because standing up on my feet would be the result of all the goal that I achieved. So the goals are wrong. We have set goals too far apart. So that's a vision. We need to have a vision. When you have a vision, then you have to create the goals that will take you to your vision. And that goal is the most important thing in your life, whatever it is at that time. That's it. If you want to go somewhere, if you want to go from A to Z, the goal is right now. The goal is when I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. When I wake up, that's the goal. That's the goal. The next goal is try to go make yourself breakfast. Make sure you complete that goal. You don't just quickly make breakfast trying to eat and go. No, what is the complete version of making a breakfast? So that's the goal. Make your breakfast. You don't let your mind. That's what the book, The Law of Observe and Direct, says. Don't let your mind take you to your vision and believe that it's a goal. Say, no. When your mind says, let's go, no, so you tell your mind, no, I am making a breakfast right now. This is what I need to do. I want to make sure I do it right. I want to make sure I thank God for what I have. Make sure I'm grateful for what I have and eat it. So that's the reason. And we can't go a lot, unfortunately, because of time frame. We don't. I hope people will just buy the book.
I'm going to direct them to it, because I think it is necessary to have, because when someone has your journey like you are describing, then they need to obtain that book so they can get a full understanding of exactly what you're talking about. And I always describe this about them with authors, Mehdi, is that when you purchase their book, you're having a private meeting with that author. Because he or she poured their substance, poured their energy into those words. And when you find your secret place and you began to have a conversation with the author as you're reading, that exchange, it becomes more powerful. And so I always send them to you, because that's where you're going to get some of the things. And when they also move from that space, and you have, you'd mentioned, I read one of the things that said you're a life coach, and you can also issue that aspect of who you are and give them information under there, and then take them to the next. But I always send them to you guys, because they need to hear this story. They need to talk to you. They need to drink up of your wisdom. So here you are. You have were told by the collective that you ought to stay here within this framework. You're crippled. Don't you understand that you're crippled? So you looked at them and said, no, I don't. And you began to move and take steps to bring out and produce your desired outcome. And you talked about that joy, that expression as to when you began to walk. And I know how all of the people came and attached their story to yours. And, we helped them attain all this stuff and all that. I get all that. But here you are. You have achieved some of your desired outcome that you want. When you got there, where did you now direct yourself and say, okay, I need to go beyond just walking, because when you're in a situation like you were, that, as you mentioned, the little goals that you have, and which is very important in order to get to your vision. And people have to learn to, and I know, I can't wait for you to talk a little about those principles, a little about it, not all of it, but some of those principles in the book, so that they can get the difference, the meat of the goal setting along with your vision will help you accomplish your stuff. Talk to me about that place. I mean, when you got there, you're walking now, and you're like, wow, what do I do after here? Talk to the people.
Yeah, well, before I learned how to walk.
Yeah.
I asked a lot of questions, and to my parents, it was really ungodly questions. So they wanted to know why I would ask them ungodly questions. So they referred to this clergy, the mullah, and asked him from religious point of view why he's asking such ungodly question. So he told my parents a story. The moral of the story was that the reason God creates people like him, or takes take people's vision, or people are blind or deaf, or there's a reason. And if they have legs, let's say your son have legs, he might do a lot of worse things. That's why God has made him crippled and paralyzed. So the story is longer. I don't want to go to the story. It's a long story. The way he told us that's how basically what the reason he's handicapped. So my parents were kind of, okay, now we know. Now we're happy that he's handicapped. Otherwise, he would do a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
So, but when I got my mobility back, so now to come to your question, when I got my mobility back, I was on top of the world, and I would then my parents' worst nightmare came true. Because the question was limited to my home, my family. Now it was all over the village. I would go ask people questions. Why you do this? Why you fight? Why don't you do this? Why? So and things that didn't make sense, I would point out. For some reason, that's filtering is. And the filtering system in my head that it's not good, it's bad to ask this question wasn't there. and I was a troubled kid in the whole village, and the whole village said, "Oh my God, he was okay when he was handicapped. I don't know why God gave him his mobility back." So when people when you believe in something, when you want to do something, when you want to break free from the box that you're in, there's a price to pay, my friend.
Oh yeah.
It's not as easy, and so that's why people quit, because they're not ready to pay the price. So now I had my mobility. They had to send me to school, and there was no formal school, so they had to send me to the mosque to learn the Holy Book, Quran. And I had a hard time memorizing it. And I was punished. I was beaten on a regular basis by the same mullah who told me that I shouldn't have legs. And I'm coming home. I'm telling my parents that I'm not going there, and they would say, "Well, you deserve every beating because you're not paying attention." But I said, I'm not learning anything. I even didn't know it was Arabic. It was a language. We had to learn it in Arabic, and I even didn't know it was a language. But I resisted. I said, I don't want to go. I was beaten over and over again. So one day, I just, instead of going to school, I went towards the mountain. Because in my mind, we all need an escape, a kind of space to escape. I had in my head behind the mountain, there's a beautiful world. They don't beat their children. They listen to their children. People are loving and kind. So I wanted to go to the other side of the mountain. So I left. I was lost for 2 nights in the mountains. Almost died before they found me. And then when I came back, I told my parents, "Don't send me back. If you do, I will run away again." And I would run away again. Because what I believed was a lot more important than my parents believed. So for an 8 and 9 years old, it's a little unorthodox, but but I did it unconsciously. That's how it was. So the whole thing changed. The next phase of my life when the war came closer to our village. The Soviet invaded Afghanistan, and the war was getting worse and worse. So we had to escape the country, go to Pakistan.
Yeah.
So we were a big family. We were 5 brothers, and I had 2 sisters, and my brother by then was married, and they had a daughter. So I was about 11 years old. So we couldn't all fit in one vehicle. So my family was in one vehicle, and me and my 2 brothers was another vehicle with the other passengers. And while going towards Pakistan, my family's vehicle went over a landmine. And everybody in the family except my father and the driver was killed. So all of a sudden, I only had my 2 brothers. My mom was gone. I lost my mother when I was 11 years old. And my younger siblings, who were really, really close to me, and I really loved them dearly, wanted to protect them, were gone.
Yeah.
So now we're in Pakistan, and for the first time, I see electricity, I see cars, I see paved road, and I see all of this stuff that I never thought existed in the world.
Yeah.
And that raised the question, just like you said, what is next? The next was, okay, I want to see the world. I want to see the world. So now imagine as an 11-year-old, as a refugee, no language skill, nothing, and you want to travel the world.
Yeah.
And then everybody laughed at me. What do you travel the world? What are you talking about? And for me, I knew I could travel the world. How?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always remember this thing inside me, because I have a scar here of that knife, and it always reminded me, this thing inside me will find a way. All I have to do is believe that I can.
Yeah.
So now, if you tell that to anybody, if somebody has a goal or a vision in their mind that they want to do something in their life, and it's beyond belief, first of all, they themselves, because they've learned that, okay, forget about it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
If they believe it, the parents or the family or the society will tell them, what the hell are you talking about? This will work for somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, I'm going to travel.
Yeah. And
how was none of my business.
How did it, because I know the death, that's a traumatic incident, but yet within that trauma, you were able to still maintain this this desire to go beyond your constraint. And you came up, you said, I want to travel. And and again, I tell people, once you make a decision and decide something, I believe we began to call in energy, we began to call in situations, meaning because we are so powerful that once we express it, this is what I want to do, and that mind clicks in. I believe the words that we release also clicks in and began to bring people in our situation that will come up from a conversation, a situation, anything. Will say, hey, you may say, I want to do this, I want to do it, and they say, yeah, I'm going there. Then boom, you sent out this. So talk to me about your first trip was to get to Pakistan. When was your next trip when you made your decision, says, I'm going to travel the world?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the trauma. It took me a while to accept the reality and move on. Again, just like we talked about questioning. So when I lost most of my family, my mother, my siblings, the question again changed for victimized mentality kind of thing. And my father remarried, my brother remarried, and I realized that, to myself, I said, they don't love me. So now I'm back to this victim mentality. Nobody cares about me. And then I went even deeper and deeper asking that question. And there are times that I thought of taking my own life as an 11, 12-year-old kid, trying to take my own life, constantly thinking about it. Sitting under a tree in a farm, and I looking at the branches, and I just contemplating the idea of which branch would hold my weight, that I could hang myself. That's the only way to kill myself, was hanging. That's all I heard. And I was contemplating on that for months and months, and luckily didn't have the courage to act. And then again, the question changed, and I one day I said, why am I should I kill myself? If nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, why should I care about anybody myself? What is it that I want?
Yeah.
That the question changed, everything changed. And that's when I said, okay, I want to travel the world.
Yeah.
I want to travel the world. Now, it took me a couple of years to find out what exactly it is that I want. Yeah. So when you believe in something, the problem with a lot of us, Ken, is the mind loves to know the how. If you want to do something, the mind always asks you the question how. Yeah. But you don't have the answer. Because you can't just sit there and find out the how that hasn't arrived yet. Yeah. So when you cannot find the answer, the mind says, "Are you crazy? Then stop it.
Don't move.
Don't move." That's the safest option. Yeah. Don't move because you don't know the how. Yeah. But I want the audience to understand that the how is none of your business. The how comes as you start moving. Exactly. Not now. Yeah. So don't let the how stop you. So for me, unconsciously, I didn't know this. Unconsciously, how was not even in my head. How am I going to travel? I told my parents I want to travel. They laughed at me. I told my neighbors. Everybody laughed at me. How are you going to do that? I didn't have the answer. I said, I don't know, but I do know that I want to travel. And I learned English on my own because my father wouldn't support it, wouldn't send me to this to English language center. So we didn't have the money. Yeah. So how I learned it is another long story. Yeah. When I was about 13 years old, I watched Boris Becker and Yvonne Lendl playing. Yeah, tennis. I love them. Two of my favorites, man. Yeah. Yep. I watched that playing tennis at my neighbor's home. We didn't have a TV, so I was and Boris Becker was 16 years old, and the commentator is telling about about Boris Becker, how he travels the world and does all that stuff. And I said, "Oh my God, I want to play tennis, and that's how I want to travel the world." So, and now think about it. It was after 2 years after I decided to travel, the how showed up. Yeah. So people don't want to wait. They want to know the how now. It doesn't work like that. It'll come. If you believe it'll come. When? It'll come. Yeah. Again, you have no idea when. Yeah. And then I didn't know what tennis was. Had no idea what tennis was. And I told my parents, and I did the same story. What the hell are you talking about? And my neighbor who taught me English, he was a doctor. He had really a nice family, and him and his wife was a doctor. He said, "My son, I'm a doctor. My wife is a doctor. I cannot afford to play tennis." So you want to play tennis? Forget about it, son. To me, I didn't know what they were talking about. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. The way you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I want to play tennis. And I found ways how to play tennis. Wow. For the next 8 months, I played tennis that nobody believed. And that tennis turned to squash because of some reason. And then I switched to squash. And I became in 1 year, in less than a year, I became number 2 in the province in squash. Wow. And when I was 16 years old, then I was invited to go play a tournament in Singapore. And that was my first overseas travel. Wow, you did it, man. I'm hearing your story, and there is a degree that people need to understand. Another aspect within the journey that people need to understand is the need to learn, number one, you stepping out you don't need to know all the answers. You need to step out. The Christian belief people call it faith. You need to step out, not knowing all the answers and just moving, but starting the journey. But there's a great lesson within that is even deeper. It takes patience. It takes tenacity. It takes that oneness and that belief in accomplishing what I want and not what people are telling me that I should want or I shouldn't do and whatever. It comes down to what is it do I want? And then, as I said to them, I would say to people, once you make that declaration, that release of energy, it's amazing how things will come to you. And because we are in this Western civilization that, presto, 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 that's where we get frustrated. We don't understand the beauty of the journey. And within the journey, it demands a degree of patience. And the patience is to manifest the things to come, but it's also
to help you to get to a certain place as well. So it's working on you, and it's working on what you release to bring into play. And people, again, they have to learn how to be. It's the journey. You got to learn how to accept it, walk it, and not to deviate from it, in a sense that don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. And your story is just getting, this thing. Guys, those that are listening to this story, get the book, because this stuff is rich, having this conversation. Here you are, you've made your first journey, and you're moving through getting your desired outcome as you declare them, and you put in the corresponding work to get to it. They keep missing that corresponding work, meaning I keep telling them, you cannot be this journey of personal growth. You cannot be a lazy person. You cannot. Lazy people don't continue the journey because it's messy. It's all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful because we're getting to know who we are within the journey, man. And it's just this beautiful thing. And I can, as you're talking, man, I see your facial expression as you're remembering some of these things and the achievement. Talk to them about once you made this declaration and you got there, your first trip. Did it hit you then that, hey, I'm traveling, or was it much later that you did it hit you?
Yeah. Well, I always believed that I would travel. I saw myself in an airplane years ago in my vision. When it happened, I thought, was it real or not? My first trip, of course, it did hit me. It says, I've seen this over and over again in my head. Is it still the same? Is it just a dream?
Yeah.
And I would go talk to my teammate and says, "Hey, are we real?" I said, "Yeah, buddy, you made it. You made it."
Yeah.
Because most of the teammates, they have been playing squash since they were young kids.
Yeah.
I only did it in 9 months, and I was favorite or the hero there. That's how I actually worked really hard.
Yeah.
And the time that I put in, and it did not just come the way, simple as we're talking. That from here I moved there. The process was lengthy, and I loved every moment of it.
Yeah.
While playing squash, I didn't have the support. My family didn't show up to the tournaments or drop me off. I had to walk for hours, or sometimes I had to ride on a bicycle. And I didn't have money to buy a squash ball.
Yeah.
So what I did, I found the broken ones, and I would glue them with crazy glue and try to play it slowly, not to make sure it doesn't break again. I didn't have money to buy shoes. I would ask somebody else, if you don't use your shoes, just give it to me. But none of those bothered me.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me at all. I said, this is the process.
Yeah.
I would just enjoy every moment of it. And that's one of the biggest problems, just like you mentioned yourself. Yeah. We're so the mind is goal oriented. When we have your goal at your destination as a goal, then you miss out the whole journey.
Yeah.
So because the goal is there, the mind is goal oriented, it wants to achieve the goal. But if your goal is the process itself, you're achieving it on a regular basis, and you have dopamine on a regular basis, then there is no hard. When we work, we do say, I constantly say work hard, because that's what I've learned, work hard. But hard disappears. There is no hard.
Yeah.
It is only hard when you don't believe in it. You're working against your belief.
Yeah.
It is only hard when your goal is over there. You're working on something that is not your goal. You just want it to quickly finish. You want to be over there. That's when it becomes hard. For me, nothing was hard. And the journey was, yes, it was surreal. It was just, wow, this is it. I made it. Yeah. I'm doing it.
I want you to talk to people a little about the laws that you have, because we began the conversation about the book that you wrote. And I know we're pressed for time. We're clocking an hour already. But this is some good, this is really good conversation. But I want you to talk to them briefly about your 5 laws. Just give them an overview, and so that you can entice the listener to, as they say, wet their whistle about and pique their interest as to what they are, and so that we can point them to purchasing your book. Go ahead, talk to them about it.
I listened to your last podcast with I forgot the name of your guest. She talked about complete, and I listened to it, and it was wow. She got that one right. The first law is the law of complete.
Yeah,
you have to know you're complete. Not just know, you have to learn how the mind works.
Yeah.
The only way that you know you're complete, you have to know how the mind works, what the mind does to you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest problems. Nobody teaches us about the mind. We leave the whole thing, the main thing, we leave it alone and we just go do stuff. You have to know how the mind works. You have to know that you're complete.
Mm-hmm.
When you're complete, you're free. There is nothing. You're not attached to anything. You are free.
Yeah.
If there is no failure when you're free, you're just doing something.
Yeah.
And you're learning something. There is no failure. Nothing exists. So you are free. Unless you're not free, you're not going to be successful in anything.
Yeah.
If you're attached to something, it means something else controls you. You have to be free. And the law of complete also says you have to complete the task at hand. The task at hand is the most important goal in your life. Whatever that you're doing right now, I don't care what the task is. If it is playing with your children, that's the task that day. And you have to complete that. And you have to be there 100%. You have to know what the complete form of playing with my children is. Is it just being on the phone, or you have to do that. And the second law is law of belief. And you cannot do something against your belief. You have to know what your old beliefs, I call them default beliefs. We leave our default beliefs intact and create a new beliefs. It's very easy to create new beliefs. All you have to do is just watch a motivational video. You start believing in yourself. Wow, I can do that. All you have to do is go to workshop. Go to the workshop, and you have your new beliefs. It's so easy to form it. But the problem is that we leave our default beliefs intact in trying to work on a new one. It doesn't work. So the law of belief says you have to find your old beliefs on whatever it is that you're doing. What is your old belief? Where did it come from? Who taught you that belief? Is that true or not? And then you have to bring these new beliefs, and you have to know the difference of this too. Okay, and that it's not an option. You have to. It's a law. You don't do that. You can't forget
move
about being successful.
You
can't move forward. That's why a lot of us quit, and the books you buy, just collects dust on the shelf. And then law number 3 is you have to discover and accept. So you have to discover your past beliefs, everything about your past. You have to discover, and you have to accept them. The past beliefs that you're discovering now, you have to accept them. You cannot say, I don't like it. Why is it there? It is wrong. No. You accept it. This is it. This is my old beliefs. This is it. It's just beliefs, but the old one. This is the new one. But I know this old beliefs will come in. But that's okay. Whenever it comes, that's okay. That's just an old beliefs. You have to write down all your old beliefs about whatever it is that you want to do. If it is relationship, if it's success, money, whatever it is, you have to know. If your old beliefs about money is that money is scarce, money is hard to make, and your parents were poor, you have, my buddy, you're going to have the hardest time ever trying to be rich, trying to make money, because the old beliefs will stop you. Okay, so that's the third law. The fourth law is the law of observe and direct. This is the most difficult law to apply. You have to constantly observe your mind. That when the old belief is going to attack you, when it does, you have to observe. Oh, this is the old beliefs. Don't do anything about it. The minute you observe, it loses its power. And then here's the new beliefs coming in. And the fifth law is the law of responsibility. And that's one of the things that we have learned it wrong, is that, okay, your responsibility is to be a doctor. No. Your responsibility is to observe your mind. Apply the 5 laws of inner change. You have to know the complete form of yourself. That's your responsibility. You have to know your complete form. Who are you? You have to know that. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to find your past, your old beliefs. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility to accept them. Your responsibility is to observe your mind when you, on a regular basis, is the goal that you have right now, is it helping you to take you towards your vision? Or is it distracting you from it?
Yeah.
So you have to, this is your responsibility. The result, being a doctor, being rich, is the result of the byproduct of everything. So don't let your mind focus on that. It's your responsibility to observe your mind on a regular basis to make sure that your current task is related to what it is that you want in your life. And when the mind, your old beliefs attacks, you have to observe your mind and not allow it. It automatically will go away once you observe. So if you truly apply these laws, you can achieve anything in your life, because it is impossible to fail if you want to go from A to Z. If it's impossible to fail if you focus on what you're doing right now. Well, I want to, take your step one step at a time. If you're really careful, it's just like you going to from Toronto, you're going to New York. You can't see New York. You can't see New York. But if you see, the few meters, 20, 30 meters in front of you, if you focus on that one, that is, and follow the laws, traffic laws and everything, complete everything, of course there's no way. Yeah. No way that you'll not reach New York. But if you if you want to reach New York and that's your goal, and you try to go fast and speed and do all of this stuff, why this guy did this, it's going to be chaos. And that's what this book is all about.
Man, I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to thank you so much for coming by, Threads of Enlightenment, and spending your precious time with us. And I encourage everyone that is listening to us, purchase this book, buy several copies, give it to friends, family, so that you all can change and apply these 5 laws and get your desired outcome. Thank you so much for coming, man. This is good.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.